This is Julien, the French winemaking guy who makes wine videos here on YouTube. Yes, wine videos. And yes, I am French, but I did live in Italy for quite some time, making wine as a winemaker in the heart of Italy, in the heart of beautiful Tuscany. So here are the top 40 most important Italian wine words that you should know how to pronounce. We're going to go through them from the letter A to the letter Z, and let's get right into it. First, we're going to talk about Amarone. Amarone. You do want to insist on the one here, and you'll see that in Italian you will often emphasize on the, not the last syllable, but the syllable before the last one. So it's definitely the case here. Amarone. If you can pronounce the Italian R, say Amarone. Amarone della Valplicella. Amarone della Valplicella. A red grape variety producing delicious wines in the south of the country, in the regions of Campania and Basilicata, Aglianico. Aglianico. Do insist on the A here in the middle. You will find Aglianico wines produced in the appellation that is called Taurasi, near the city of Naples. And you will also find Aglianico in the Basilicata wine region, coming under the name Aglianico del Vulture. Of course, we're going back north in the country, around the town of Asti in the Piedmont or the Piemonte wine region, with the sparkling wines called Moscato d'Asti, the sweet sparkling wines called Moscato d'Asti. But Asti around the town is a pretty large region around the town of Asti, also making some red wines such as the Barbera d'Asti or Nebbiolo d'Asti. Barbera d'Asti, Nebbiolo d'Asti. Talking about Barbera, a beautiful, spicy, pungent red grape variety, powerful, spicy, zingy wines with loads of red berry fruit characters, the wines made from Barbera. Barbera, or just say Barbera if you cannot pronounce the Italian R. You will find Barbera d'Asti, as we talked about before, as well as Barbera d'Alba in a neighboring town that is called Alba. Barbera d'Alba. Staying in the Piedmont, the Piemonte wine region, with the beautiful red wines made from the Nebbiolo grapes, the wine made in Barbaresco, which is a village in Piemonte. Barbaresco makes beautiful, very demanded, quite expensive, very good wines made from the Nebbiolo grapes, or Vino di Nebbiolo, made in Barbaresco. The typical Italian pronunciation, Barbaresco. The neighboring village, even more famous than Barbaresco, is Barolo. Barolo. Do insist on the O in the middle, Barolo, or say Barolo. The Piedmont region in the northwestern part of Italy, we call it Piedmont because it's the Piedmont of the Alps, but the Italians call it Piemonte. Barolo in Piemonte. Of course, any white wine in Italy is going to be called a vino bianco. Italy is more famous for producing red wines, but there are many white wines that are beautiful in Italy as well. We're going to go through quite a lot of famous ones here in this list. So, vino bianco. Anytime you see bianco on a label, it's going to mean this is a white wine. Bolgheri. You may not be familiar with Bolgheri, but this is a village on the coast of Tuscany, a Tuscan village on the coast, close to the Mediterranean Sea, in fact, that produces some of the most expensive, some of the most demanded Italian wines of them all. So if you haven't heard about Bolgheri, well, look it up, because it's a very important village, making some of the wines like Ornellaia or Sassicaia out of Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, as opposed to Sangiovese grape. So they make wines from the Bordeaux grape varieties in Bolgheri, resulting in very expensive and beautiful wines. Bolgheri. Or Bolgheri, like the Italians or the Tuscans would say. Of course, staying in Tuscany, you will have the wines from Brunello. Brunello di Montalcino. Montalcino is the name of the village here. Brunello is the type of wine referring to the dark color of the Sangiovese wines made in Brunello. Brunello di Montalcino, or the Italian typical pronunciation, Brunello di Montalcino. And a word meaning winery in Italian, cantina. Cantina you will see on many wine labels in Italy, cantina, such as Cantina Argiolas in Sardinia on the island of Sardinia, or Cantina Zaccanini in the Abruzzo wine region. Cantina. Of course, you probably already know this one, Chianti. Of course, you do not say Chianti. No, Chianti. Chianti. Do insist on the A and the anti here. Chianti for the typical Italian pronunciation. You will have different areas such as Classico in Chianti, but also Chianti Rufina, Chianti Colline Senesi, or Chianti Colline Pisane, different sub-regions of the Chianti area. One of the sub-regions of the Chianti area will be the Chianti Classico zone, which is the heart of the appellation, the historic heart of the appellation, Chianti Classico. You will have Classico areas in other zones, wine-producing regions of Italy, such as Valpolicella or Soave. Valpolicella Classico and Soave Classico, meaning those wines are made in the very heart, the historic heart of the appellation, so really typical traditional styles of wines coming under the name Classico. DOC and DOCG are the two appellation systems in the hierarchy of Italian wine. Denominazione di origine controllata. For the DOC wines, the majority of the wines under appellation in Italy come under DOC or DOC, as the Italians say. The higher ranking in the Italian appellation system is DOCG, like the Italians say, or DOCG. The Italians would say DOCG, or Denominazione di Origine Controllata e Garantita. DOCG wines are a bit higher in the hierarchy of Italian wine. Dolcetto, powerful, pungent, full-bodied, round, a bit jammy, red wine grape variety making wines in the Piedmont area, Dolcetto. Dolcetto comes in Piedmont along the Barbera and the Nebbiolo grapes that we've talked about. The Dolcetto are around the softer, jammier, richer types of wine. Dolcetto. Dolcetto made in Langhe, again in Alba or Asti. Dolcetto d'Alba or Dolcetto d'Asti. In the south of the country, in Sicily, you will have this famous volcano, and they grow vines on the sides of this volcano, very smoky mineral wines, Etna Rosso, the red wines from the Etna, and Etna Bianco, the white wines from the Etna. The red wines, the Rosso, are made from Nerello Mascalese and Nerello Cappuccio grape varieties. The white wines, the Etna Bianco, are made from Catarratto, Catarratto grape from the Etna. Franciacorta is the most famous, second only to Prosecco, of all sparkling types or sparkling wine types in Italy. Well, I guess Moscato is also very famous, but yeah, if you haven't heard about Franciacorta, this is the Italian counterpart to champagne wines. Delicious Franciacorta wines made from Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. The Italians say those are bollicine. Bollicine meaning sparkling wines. Bollicine della Lombardia, because Franciacorta wines come from Lombardy. Franciacorta. Look up the wines from Franciacorta. Gavi is a DOCG, so a very reputable area for producing white wines in the north of Italy from the Cortese grape, Gavi. You will find the Gavi del Comune di Gavi, made around the town of Gavi itself. Gavi del Comune di Gavi. Gavi. Glera is the grape and behind the Prosecco sparkling wines. The famous Prosecco sparkling wines are made from the grapes that is called Glera or Glera. Glera. IGT. The Italians will call this IGT, which are those wines made under broad appellation system, indicazione geografica tipica, meaning an appellation of origin that is quite broad, quite commonly regional, like IGT Toscana. In English you would say this IGT, but in Italian you'd say IGT. Indicazione geografica tipica. Of course, some of the most famous sparkling wines in Italy are also the Lambrusco, the red sparkling wines made in Emilia-Romagna, near the city of Bologna. Lambrusco. Do insist on the usco. If you can pronounce the Italian pronunciation, say Lambrusco. The grape variety of Montepulciano. Montepulciano makes some powerful red wines, especially in the wine region of Abruzzo. Do not confuse Montepulciano, the grape, with the village, the Tuscan village that is called Montepulciano. I did make a video on that particular topic if you're interested. Montepulciano, Montepulciano. Insist on the ano at the end. Montepulciano. Moscato, we talked about Moscato d'Asti, those sparkling wines that they call spumante in Italy. Moscato d'Asti. the grape variety behind some of the most demanded, the most praised wines in Italy, Nebbiolo. Behind the wines from Barolo, from Barbaresco. For more affordable version of Nebbiolo grapes, look out for Nebbiolo di Langhe or Langhe Nebbiolo. More affordable, but they will give you a taste of what a Nebbiolo wine tastes like if you cannot afford a Barolo or a Barbaresco. Nebbiolo. There is a double B to Nebbiolo, so do say Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo. Do insist on the double B here, because in Italian anytime there is a double letter, you do want to insist and emphasize on it. Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo. Passito. Yep, double S here as well, so do say passito. Passito is a technique that consists in drying the grapes before fermenting the wines, resulting in very concentrated wines that are called passito. Passito wines, such as the passito made from muscat grapes in Sicily, like the passito di Pantelleria. Passito di Pantelleria, but there are passito wines made all around the country of Italy. Of course, you've heard about Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio, the Italian pronunciation would be Pinot Grigio. Pinot Grigio. Do not pronounce the T to Pinot Grigio. Obviously, say Pinot Grigio. The most common type of Pinot Grigio appellation is Pinot Grigio delle Venezie, a broad appellation corresponding pretty much to the whole of the Veneto region in the north of the country. Pinot Grigio. Primitivo is a powerful red grape that is the cousin of Zinfandel in California, making bold red wines in the south of the country, in the Puglia wine region, in the heel of the Italian boot. Primitivo. Primitivo. Do insist on the tivo at the end. Primitivo. Primitivo di Puglia. Of course, Prosecco. You've all heard about Prosecco, but do you pronounce it correctly? You have to insist on the double C here. Prosecco. Prosecco. If you cannot pronounce the R, just say Prosecco. Prosecco. Do insist on the se here in the middle. Prosecco. For a better version of Prosecco, not your cheap Prosecco that you'd find anywhere, look out for a Prosecco Corneliano Valdobbiadene. Corneliano Valdobbiadene, that corresponds to a very specific area, production zone that is smaller and better. They come under the name Prosecco Corneliano Valdobbiadene, and they are wines that have much more character than generic Prosecco wines. Prosecco Corneliano Valdobbiadene. You will find many wines in Italy coming under the name Riserva, meaning that they have been aged in barrel or in tank for longer, and generally they correspond to a better selection of grapes. The wines called Riserva. Riserva. You could say Riserva, but the Italians would say Riserva. You will find Riserva wines from the Classico areas, but you'll also find sometimes wines coming under Riserva Superiore, meaning that they are slightly better quality. Riserva. Roero is one of those famous white wine appellations in Italy, here in Piedmont, making very fragrant, very fruity wines, but still zingy and savory and food-friendly wines from Roero. Roero. They make wines here out of the Arnese grape variety. Roero Arnese. Arnese Roero. Roero. You can say in English perhaps Roero. It's pretty tricky in English if you cannot pronounce the Italian R, but say Roero. Vino Rosso, meaning red wine in Italy. I'm sure you've already heard about this. Do insist on the double S like always. Rosso. Rosso. Vino Rosso. Sangiovese, the iconic Tuscan grape variety of Sangiovese behind the wines of Chianti, Brunello, the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, as well as Morellino di Scanzano. All of those are wines made from the Sangiovese grape in Tuscany. Sangiovese. Sangiovese. Do insist on the vese, the E around the end of Sangiovese. Sagrantino is a fantastic grape variety, and perhaps not all that famous, but it makes some very delicious, savory, quite deep and dark wines, especially in the area of Umbria, like the Sagrantino di Montefalco, Montefalco being the village, Sagrantino di Montefalco in Umbria. Beautiful, delicious wines. Look them up, try one, let me know what you think of them. Sagrantino. Another white wine appellation. See, there are quite a lot of white wines, delicious white wines made in Italy as well, such as the wines made in Soave, from the grape that is called Garganega, in the Veneto wine region in the northeastern part of the country. The wines from Soave, Soave, Soave. Soave wines made from Garganega. Spumante, we've talked about them. This means sparkling in Italian. Vini spumante. Spumante, such as Prosecco spumante, Lambrusco spumante, etc. If a wine is not as sparkling as a spumante, it's going to be called frizzante in Italian. Tenuta is a term that means estate, that is particularly used around Tuscany. Tenuta. Tenuta is essentially to say the name of a winery or an estate, like Tenuta San Guido, Tenuta di Biondisanti, that's called Tenuta Greppo. There is a Tenuta by Lodovico Antinoris, that's called Tenuta di Biserno. All of those are estates, famous, very famous estates in Tuscany. Tenuta. Uva is the name that the Italians give to grapes. Yes, uva is the Italian translation of grapes. Uva. So it's not all that famous, you won't see this on wine labels all that much, but yep, it's very important because that's where wine comes from, uva. The Italians would call uvaggio grape varieties, like the French would say cépage, uvaggio. Uva and uvaggio. We've talked about Valpolicella, this beautiful area in the north of the country, making the Amarone della Valplicella, but also Ripasso, Recioto, and yep, all those beautiful wines around the area of Valpolicella. Of course, all around the country, all around Italy, you will find wines coming under Vin Santo, the name Vin Santo. Sweet white wines, more often than not, oxidized white wines, fermented for a very long time, often made from dried grapes, the wines from Vin Santo. The Vin Santo del Chianti are made often from Trebbiano and Malvasia grape varieties, but sometimes also from Sangiovese, Vin Santo. And finally, a grape variety, or the name, a synonym, Italian synonym of Muscat of Alexandria, grown in Sicilia, in Sicily, in the south of the country, the grape that is called Zibibbo. Zibibbo. Do insist on the double B here, Zibibbo. You will find Zibibbo wines coming from Sicily, some dry versions that are particularly fruity, exuberant, and delicious wines from Zibibbo. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give this video a quick like, and yep, check out my other video that is going to come very soon about the top 100 Italian wines and how to pronounce them. If you want to learn more about those top 40 words, I did make a bit of a longer video going into more details about those top 40 wine words. I hope this video was useful, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of vino. Au revoir. Bye bye.